Welcome back, everybody, to our vCenter section of our Module 2, where we talk about the advancements in virtualization and how we can use vCenter to centralize the management of all of our ESXi hosts. So, if you have a lot of virtual machines and hosts, you can have your hands full quickly. Fortunately, VMware has a solution. vCenter Server is an advanced management suite that provides tools and features that make virtualization a natural extension of data center management. Whether you have 1 or 100 ESXi hosts, you can leverage a user-friendly web-based interface to manage your VMs from a single point. vCenter isn't just for large enterprises. I know several companies that run it locally and they've only got 2 or 3 hosts, and they might only have 10 VMs per host. It's whatever they have running. You can run ESXi or vCenter just as easily with 3 hosts as you will with 300 hosts. So, vCenter is a multi-tier application designed with the enterprise in mind, but capable of managing very small organizations. So it includes components of ID management server, database server, app server, web, and vSphere web client. Although it may sound like a lot to manage, vCenter is simple to manage. You'll see that when we get more into it. I'll actually show you vCenter and how it works and all that good stuff. You can deploy it in a variety of forms, giving you the ability to install the roles onto a single server or multiple servers depending on your needs. vCenter can be installed on a Windows system or deployed as a virtual appliance to give you even more flexibility. A single vCenter server can scale and manage up to 1,000 ESXi hosts, so that's physical servers. That's something you can actually go into the data center and tap on, physically add memory to, and hard drive space. And then it can set and up to 10,000 powered-on virtual machines. So, assuming that you had 10 hosts or 10 virtual machines per host, that would give you your 10,000 VMs. That's a single vCenter server. You can have multiple vCenter servers, and you can actually bind them together with linked mode. And you would be able to go in and manage, have them all with the same information, and you can have multiple vCenter servers supporting all of your hosts. Because vCenter manages each of your ESXi hosts, it has the ability to perform operations that require multiple ESXi hosts. VMotion is a very, very cool trick. So let me cover very quickly what the different ones are. We have vMotion, which is how you can move. Gives you the ability to migrate running VMs from one ESXi host to another without disrupting the VM. You have DRS, Distributed Resource Scheduler. Provides load balancing for your VMs across the ESXi hosts. We have DPM, which is Distributed Power Management. It allows you to take slow or lower resource utilization times, take those VMs like the weekend and consolidate these VMs until they are needed. Storage vMotion allows you to migrate running VM's hard disk to another, while Storage DRS automates load balancing from a storage perspective. Storage DRS. All servers use storage to some degree, but don't use it in the same way. So, we'll talk about more. I'll go into each one of these in more detail. Storage I/O control. What if you have a VM that doesn't integrate well with others? Well, you can use this to help manage that. vSphere data protection gives you the ability to back up your VMs. And then we have additional vSphere features. We have high availability to restart your VMs on another host if you have a hardware problem. Fault tolerance if a VM restarts. If a VM restart is too much downtime, fault tolerance provides uninterrupted availability for your VMs. Replication, you can copy your VM to another site for disaster recovery. So if you have, and that comes in handy a lot, because you could actually have a branch location doing replication to a headquarters location, so that if anything on the branch location goes down, the headquarters can take over for it. So that's just some of the features, and I'll go into more detail right now about vMotion and stuff like that, just so you guys have an idea of what things are. So vMotion. It allows you to migrate a running VM from one ESXi host to another, even during normal business hours. So the business implications for this technology are huge. So you can think of this feature as sort of as a proactive high availability. You can actually evacuate an ESXi host before it goes down. VMotion can be used to help load balance your ESXi hosts in a cluster. It also gives you the freedom to make those hardware adjustments and updates during the business day, because you can evacuate the VMs to other servers. VMotion is actually a migration process. As we discussed, VMs are built on virtual hardware, and therefore they are a little more tolerant than physical servers when it comes to swapping hardware. A VM is mainly a large chunk of memory on an ESXi host. Migrating means you need to find a means to copy that memory from one ESXi host to another. vCenter server steps in and orchestrates the copy process between hosts. The memory is copied between hosts, and the VM is transferred to the new host. In most cases, you won't even notice a drop packet in the network, thanks to the way that ESXi hosts communicate with the network. It's extremely fault tolerant as well. If anything goes wrong, the original host remains in control and the VM is unaffected. VMotion can operate without shared storage. You can migrate a running VM between hosts if the ESXi host has no shared storage. We're not going to go into detail as to how that really works. We're just so you know what vMotion is. I've taken the VCA exam. It's all multiple choice questions and they're all theory. How does this work? They do offer some scenario based questions, but most of it's like, what would you do if this? How would you handle that? What is this? Why does that do that? Distributed Resource Scheduler provides load balancing for your VMs across the ESXi hosts. So DRS leverages vMotion to balance these workloads. And if configured, Distributed Power Management, or DPM, can be used to actually power off unused ESXi hosts in your environment or power them back on when the time is right. So you can automate vMotion through the use of DRS. DRS is a service within vCenter server that monitors memory and CPU load on your ESXi hosts. Over time, your ESXi hosts may become unevenly burdened. You might power on more VMs on one host than another, or have some that draw more resources than others. If the VMs are co-located all on the same host, you end up with a hotspot that may actually impact or reduce performance. So DRS gathers information on performance so that you can make better decisions on where to place VMs. When VMs are powered on, DRS can tell you which hosts are better suited for the new workload. But there's more. DRS can be automated with vMotion to balance the VMs across the ESXi hosts. If one host becomes overloaded, DRS, or Distributed Resource Scheduler, can step in and migrate some VMs to another host without bothering you. Normally, if you don't have this configured, you'll get an alert. You'll have to physically go to the host and you'll have to initiate the DRS and vMotion and all other good stuff in order to move the VM. What about redundancy or high availability? DRS helps with this by maintaining rules that match your business objectives. You can create rules that bind VMs together or forces them apart. You can also require a specific VM only run on a specific host. So if you have a cluster of email servers that have to be up for business purposes, you can put them, instead of having them all on the same host, you can move them to host 1, 2, and 3, and they can all be equally used as long as they're being replicated and all the Exchange databases are the same. Then you should have no problem where if one goes down, the other one will take over for its place. Distributed platform or power management, allows you to take slow or low resource utilization times, like the weekend, or consolidate these VMs until they're needed. This is another vCenter feature. It leverages DRS to consolidate your VMs onto fewer hosts during the non-peak times. So it monitors utilization and waits for a period of low activity. When these thresholds are met, DPM will activate and begin consolidating your VMs. After the host has been evacuated, DPM steps back in to power it off. So to power on a powered off server, DPM You can either do traditional wake on LAN, WOL methods, or possibly the IPMI controls. When demand increases, DPM will initiate the power on request and bring the host back online. As the hosts come back up, DPM uses DRS to rebalance the VMs across the ESXi host. It's a very, very cool feature. Typically, you're not going to see this in very small environments. At least I haven't. The place I work at now, we have 6 ESXi hosts with about 150 servers across the 6. We use DRS for peak times, especially when database servers are going to be used with the warehouse management software that we have running on them. So it definitely does come in handy. I've seen it used a couple times where we're watching net flow statistics on the virtual machine. And we actually use SolarWinds to manage that, and we can actually watch VMs being physically, logically moved between the 2 virtual machines, or the 2 hosts. It's a very cool process. Now, storage vMotion, it allows you to migrate running VM hard disk to another while storage DRS automates load balancing from a storage perspective. This feature is a vSphere capability. A vCenter, sorry. Storage vMotion, or SVM, gives you the flexibility to perform intrusive testing and maintenance on storage devices during the day. Scheduling a complete shutdown of a storage device is usually far more complex than shutting down a host, so SVM is a tool that can deliver outstanding results. By configuring the host to see both new and old storage, you can non-disruptively move the VMs from one array to another seamlessly. You can migrate from any supported storage type to another, including local storage devices. With SVM, you can move a VM from a shared storage device to a local storage device. Storage DRS. All servers use storage to some degree, but they don't always use it in the same way. It's like your kids. One likes peanut butter, the other one likes jelly. You can't make them a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to share because they'll both want the whole thing. So, another vCenter feature. This is a load balancer, but it focuses on storage devices. So, it monitors disk I/O, or input-output, on shared storage devices to determine if a particular disk device is overburdened or becoming too full. Your group storage devices, you group storage devices into clusters as with ESXi hosts, and then storage DRS spreads the load as needed to keep everything running smoothly. SDRS comes with different automation levels. You can take the advice of SDRS or move things manually, or automate SDRS and allow it to make the necessary moves. In today's networks, where automation is kind of a key feature, where you have config manager, orchestration manager, services manager, and a bunch of other stuff from Microsoft, you're going to find out that a lot of times anything that can be automated is done so. So, storage I/O control. What if you have a VM that doesn't integrate well with others? VMs that consume every drop of storage often impact the performance of other VMs. But busy DB servers, database servers, and email are the most common to consume more I/O. If these VMs consume too much, they can impact other VMs. You can't control the busy VMs so that other VMs can still get an appropriate amount of storage performance. You're going to want this, especially if you're dealing with a lot of disk read writes. I know just recently I was troubleshooting a network issue where we thought it was the wireless was hindering warehouse production. You know, you have a bunch of RF units, whether they're forklift mounted or handheld RF units. They use the wireless network to talk to the rest of the network. And what ends up happening is if the end user, you know, the guy in the forklift is driving around and he tries to go in and access the database, and 50 other people try to access the database at the same time, you have to have some way to work with that. And storage I/O control definitely does give you that ability. vSphere data protection, it gives you the ability to back up your VMs. You can accidentally delete files in a VM just as easy as on a physical server. A VM has the ability to use image-based backups. So the physical world calls these bare metal backups. This is a recovery without the need to load a recovery operating system. VDP is software that leverages data duplication that makes backup storage. Oh, wait a minute. VDP is a software that leverages data duplication that make backup storage usage more efficient. The way I'm reading that, it doesn't seem like it's being spoken correctly, but whatever. This is this also comes bundled into most vCenter editions. If you already have a backup software application, there are third-party APIs out there. Your vendor probably supports virtualization backups. What that basically means is if there's the API or application programmable interface, it's what software developers use to write the code that their product is going to use to talk to another product with. vSphere additional features, high availability. So vCenter is used to configure HA but does not rely on vCenter to operate and execute. Instead, each ESXi host participates in a monitoring relationship. When a host failure is detected, the cluster directs the ESXi host to restart the failed VM. VMs do not crash during the hardware failure, but typically are restarted within a minute. They do crash, I'm sorry. Instead, inside each VM is a special set of drivers and software. This service is constantly talking to the ESXi host so that HA is aware the VM is up. If the VM fails, HA can restart the VM for you. And then we have fault tolerance, and we have replication. Fault tolerance, perpetually mirror your VM from one host to another. The VM coexists on another host and remains protected until you tell it otherwise. Replication, you can copy your VM to another site or for database recovery purposes. This can be used to recover from a remote site. You can also use this to replicate branch offices to the HQ. You can also use this to use the point-in-time recovery in case your most recent replication is corrupted. So that is vCenter in all its glory. So, well, most of it anyway.